Welcome back to the Whatnauts, a Reactor Core number 131, and we are continuing to talk about Loki Season 2, specifically Episodes 3 and 4. My name is Kyle Springer, and I am joined by Melissa Wilkinson. Melissa, we got a lot to talk about on these.
Yeah.
This one here. This is a big, meaty chunk of stuff that we got here. How are you?
The show's really moving. It's doing a lot in these 6 episodes. I'm really enjoying it.
Good. I'm glad. Yeah, this is more complicated than I think I was expecting, especially with this season really only being 6 episodes. I think last season was also around 6 episodes-ish, but for some reason that felt longer. And 6 episodes now just kind of feels short. But then with the amount of content that we got in episodes 3 and 4 here, it's just man, they are packing every episode full. There's little bits and pieces hidden around every little corner of each scene. So I'm excited to get into it and talk about it. Little bit of housekeeping right up at the top. If you guys enjoy what we do and want to support, patreon.com/the Whatnauts is the best place to do that. And yeah, Melissa, Yo and I just recorded our Halloween episode last night. How are you feeling after coming down off of the high that is our Halloween special for the Captain's Log?
It is a highlight every week. I only hope that we have lived up to the previous 4 Halloween specials we've done in this format.
Right? Yeah, it's good. It's fun. We have a blast. But Loki Season 2, Episodes 3 and 4. What were your kind of general thoughts about these two? Because we're now, 2/3 of the way through the season?
There you are with your classic fractions. Not an episode goes by where you don't state what percentage of which we have covered so far on the show.
Basic math that I can do, besides being we have 6 episodes, right?
I was really impressed with this set. That 3rd episode, especially where they go to the Chicago World's Fair exposition, that looks expensive. There's so many sets. There's so many people in it. The very rich background cast we've got in that one.
Yeah.
It's good to have some time travel hijinks in there. Most of our time travel hijinks have been, we go to a 1980s McDonald's. We did go to in London. Okay, we've been places, but we still spent most of the time in the TVA. And I was happy to get, as much as I love the TVA set, it leans into the fun of the thing to get out there, get amongst the people, see what you can mess with. That episode's got some really interesting surprises, and so does this 4th one.
Yeah,
they're putting a lot on us.
They sure did. Yeah. Like you said, the sets I thought were particularly interesting. I like Victor Timely's kind of hideout lab, I guess, over in Wisconsin. But just the amount of stuff that he has just kind of laying around.
So much stuff.
The devices, never the mannequins.
No other show has had this much stuff in it. Literally just physical objects placed on the sets.
Yeah, it's good. All the costuming looks fantastic. Even the I could tell when they first went to here it is, Chicago, 19 or 1890 something, who knows what.
93.
It was still a set. I feel like you could tell it was a set, but sometimes then when you go closer into those sets, it really kind of reinforces that of just oh yeah, this is a set indoors somewhere. And I don't feel like that with this one. They're old school Chicago set. It looked really, really good. So yeah, I enjoyed all of that. I feel like there's a bunch of references that are happening in here that I don't even as a comic book nerd, I don't feel like I know them all or stuff. Is that
I've never heard of Wisconsin before.
Is this like the grandfather of Stiltman? What's happening here? I don't know.
The guy
how all
with the
of this...
mechanical pants?
Yeah, the mechanical pants to make him taller. Great stuff. But yeah, I'm having a blast with that. I'm having a blast trying to figure out what exactly is Renslayer up to. What is Miss Minutes up to?
Right.
It seems like on one scene they're working against each other, but the next scene it's like, well, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, so why don't we team up? But I'm like, I still don't trust either of you guys. Like, something's gonna happen.
That's true.
Between you two. It's a blast with that. It was great to then get to see like X5 again, to have his character come back and get some more meaningful moments with him, as well as the other TVA agents. As we go into episode 4 here, there was some gruesome stuff that thankfully we did not get to see, but we could hear it.
I know.
That
sound team working overtime. Good job.
They did, yeah. So yeah, I absolutely had a blast with this, but yeah, I think I'm still in the position of like, man, how are they gonna wrap this up? There's so much. I hope that they do, right? I obviously want them to, and I'm having a blast watching it moment to moment. Yeah, I guess I'm just scared about how all of this will wrap up. Is there going to be a season 3? Because we did go into season 1 kind of knowing there would be a season 2, and we haven't heard anything about a season 3 yet.
It seems likely. It seems like this is perhaps their most successful of the shows. It has a lot of potential to keep going. Talking with Marvel recently, like restructuring their TV department to make it truly more like a TV department and less like a 6-hour movie department. I can imagine they would want to have something a strong like this, mainline show that keeps going for as long as it needs to keep going. I can imagine it, but it's probably coming. Just maybe the ink's not dry on telling any of us yet.
Especially with the actors strike still happening. But yeah, because I think that was one of the things that they announced recently with the restructuring is like, yeah, we have a consistent writer's room. There will be a showrunner. They will make the story Bible or like the show Bible. And I feel like even if they didn't do that with this show, having 2 seasons kind of under their belt already, I feel like gives them enough runway to be like, okay, we can kind of like make up what the story Bible would be here with this. How can we then expand on that or dig into it a little bit? So yeah, I'm confident, but still cautiously confident of like, I think they will do this show right. And it's fun to watch.
Yeah, it's stunning to look at. From a production design standpoint, this really blows everything else out of the water in terms of those Marvel Disney Plus shows.
I have to say, I think my favorite set or my favorite room, I guess you could say, that they go in is this like, I keep forgetting what they call it, the place with all the pie. I'm also the Automat. I'm also on Team Automat.
I love that set.
The Automat is
great. I love when we found Loki and Sylvie in there, and she's like, I don't know how I ended up here. I got lost. Why am I in the Automat? To see the two of them just sort of pace around each other and have this tense conversation under the watchful gaze of all these pies. Seeing that room shot in a slightly different way, like it's
that wide
that's such an
format,
eerie space. And the fact that we have returned there, especially with Sylvie saying, I don't know how I ended up here, that does give me more thought to, there's truly got to be some meaning to the pie room.
Let's talk about the pie room a little bit more, because I don't want to say I'm coming up with a theory, but I have like a metaphor that's crafting in my head here of like, I think I think I understand the significance of this pie room here. And it is so they have this really nice conversation of it's Sylvie and Loki in the Automat, and they're kind of discussing what their plan is and their feelings about what they're trying to do. And Sylvie ends her side of the conversation by saying, "So then, no matter what we do, we're just playing God."
Mm-hmm.
And if you stop right there and just analyze what she said, yeah, she was basically kidnapped as a young child and taken out of this place that would maybe give her more of a sense of godhood, right? And she actually is one, which is then exactly what Loki says after that. It's like, we are gods. And I think it's really revealing to her character that maybe in her quest for revenge or to get her life back, she does not feel that connection to godhood. And so maybe she does just feel like a person, just kind of caught up in all of that stuff. So I think that was an interesting thing for her to say. And then Loki, for him to say something like, "We are gods," can be seen as very menacing, but because it's this like extra wide shot, it's far away, it is this kind of reminder to Sylvie of like, but we actually are that thing. Like it's not as sinister as I think like Avengers 1 Loki might have said that same line.
It's kind of melancholy, but also sort of hopeful. Like, we are capable of a lot more than we have been doing. We can do more. We are not out of options yet, you and I. Which is another thing I liked about the third episode. When they're not in the TVA, that means you get to have magic stuff. I kind of missed the magic. And then I like that one of the things with rebooting the TVA now is that magic is now allowed inside.
It's like, do it, shut it down, please.
Yeah.
we can do more. But like I like his realization that like we can't just give them free will and let them be. Like they're going to do some stupid stuff, and we can let them do that to an extent, but we also kind of need to tidy things up a little bit on the edges here and kind of keep it all content. Like I kind of like that thinking from him. I'm not sure exactly where that leads, but it feels like a step in the right direction for Loki. But then to bring back in the Automat and this room and the way it's designed, it's pie. There's so many pies. There's so many timelines. They have their fingers in all sorts of pies. It's literal.
You know what's interesting is that it's all these slices of pie that by definition must have been at one point part of a whole.
Yes.
You don't
the timeline
really
split.
make a exactly. And like who makes these? Where do they come from? Forget about that. They're questions, but like the bigger question is we know the pie it must come from a big pie. You got to slice out of a big round circle. You're not making it was, nobody's making these. There's no chef. It's probably just sort of weird cosmic forces aren't filling a bunch of little triangular cute dishes to make singular pie slices. That's impossible. I want to see a whole pie before the day is done. A whole pie. We've got all these different characters coming together. There's a greater sense of community this season. We're like Loki and Mobius and B-15 and OB and Casey. Like everybody's part of a team now. We've seen these singular key lime slices and like the little McDonald's pies, which are just like a single person handheld.
Yeah.
Show me a big family pie, please.
Absolutely. And then to continue with that kind of metaphor that like the pies are these timelines or just all of the stuff that they are trying to deal with, that they have their fingers in, right? The lighting above them is just, it's like this one big central light, and then there's like these smaller circular lights all around it, and it just looks like planets. Like it looks like what you would see to talk about the distinguished competition, what you would see DC Comics do for their like Crisis on Infinite Earths of events or stuff like that. They're crises. It's just all of these like alternate planets, like these alternate Earths, and what could happen with them. And they're having this conversation about the timeline and alternate realities, and we're gods to all of that. And it's just this kind of metaphor that's cooking in my head. I don't know if it, is gonna have some plot significance or stuff like, oh, the TVA actually got started in a pie shop back on Earth 3.14, right? And it's not all that, but yeah, it's fun to think about that there is detail in everything like that. It's fun. What do you think about the World Fair?
It's a very fun setting. I like that Mobius is also mostly sightseeing. He just wants to eat caramel corn. He wants to eat his Cracker Jacks. Yeah. I love when they need to chase after somebody and he pulls out a bicycle built for two.
A tandem
and Loki
bike.
stares at it like
he's like, no, please no.
I refuse.
he does. There is a scene, in the back around. They pull up on that tandem bike, and I'm just like, oh, Loki, you hate this.
I love the Balder the Brave reference. That's very fun.
Yep, absolutely. And then his like, Thor's not that tall, and then like walks away. Like he's still mad, just like, damn it, Thor. That stuff was fantastic. Those sets, like we said, just look incredible. I think the introduction of Victor Timely himself is just, I feel like just as strange as when we first got to see He Who Remains. Like, we were excited to see him, and I think even in that performance, we were like, man, Jonathan Majors, he's having fun. He's chewing up the scenery. He's sitting on his desk all strange. He's jumping on things. And we're like, man, he's weird. He's having fun. And then you see him in this, and you're just like, oh, he's a different kind of weird here in this one. And he's having fun with this, too. Like, I know there's still, I'm not sure where all of his allegations are at with that, but despite all of that, I think his performances in this are strong.
Yes.
They are a blast to watch. But yeah, just to see him, just the way he talks and the way he pauses in between words is interesting. Like it sounds like he has a speech impediment like me. He stutters. But he tries to mitigate that by having a certain cadence with his speech. It seems almost like a persona that he's putting on to help him get through that, which is interesting. Then to be like, is this kind of a show? Like, is this a performance for you to an extent? That was just a thought that occurred in the back of my mind, that he's seeming to put on an air about himself, right? I don't know. Was that something that you got from him too?
At least in that, in the context when we meet him, he is supposed to be literally a showman. He's here at the World's Fair. Yeah. He is presenting an exhibit. And that makes sense. That when he's meeting these new people, when he's trying to be this respectable, inspirational scientist, maybe he would carry himself a different way than he behaves in private.
But then he continues that same cadence in private.
We never really see him in private. We always see him with people from the future he's trying to impress.
Right, like quote unquote in private, like not in his like, I'm trying to sell this machine that barely works. Also, ask about our extendable trousers. They're half off right now, right? Like he's not making a business deal right now, but I think you are right. You're on to something that, like, even in the conversations that he's picking up when he doesn't understand the full context, he realizes, I think, that he has some kind of importance. And so if he can put on this air that he is of that same importance, maybe it'll save his life. Maybe he can convince them to do something else. Maybe he can get more power in the situation than he has initially. And I think when he finally gets to the TVA and is like looking at all these murals of this like multiversal war and all of this stuff, I think it's starting to get to him and get to his head of like, maybe it's not about impressing these people, but continuing this like show of confidence of yes, I am like worthy of the admiration you already seem to kind of give me, the admiration and fear, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's an interesting thing to think about.
I like when he meets Ouroboros, and I would like to learn more about how they influenced each other, how that literally is an Ouroboros. But I love Casey in the background who looks excited to meet somebody else who's another Ouroboros fan. He's like, I've been in a fandom of one. He's holding up his book like, he's holding up his book like, do you want to see where Ouroboros signed my book, Mr. Timely?
It's like, I drew him right underneath that. You want to see my picture?
I drew him and me. We're best friends. We're on a tandem bicycle.
Yeah,
I like when Victor Timely's real jazzed about the hot cocoa machine. That's very sweet.
Have a machine to do the hot cocoa.
Right, like he's been designing time travel mechanisms, but he never thought about, what if I had a kettle? What if I had a beverage maker? I like when he offers the guard, no, the hot cocoa is good. Like, we should share it. You should have this one too. And the guard's like, okay. And then he dies.
That scene pruned. In particular is strange because he like offers him the hot cocoa, and the guy's resistant at first, just like, nah, like I'm on duty, I can't have hot cocoa, right? And
that's the devil's temperature.
That's the devil's milk. But he kind of still just stands there insisting without even saying anything, and it does start to feel sinister. It does start to feel like I've done something to this hot cocoa. It's hotter than you think it is. But don't burn your tongue, right? Yeah. And that's not what ends up happening in the scene, but I think it's just a small, like, innocuous reminder of like, hey, we don't know if we can trust this guy fully yet. And then, the guy ends up being pruned, and then they drop the hot chocolate, and it looks like a person when he drops it, kind of.
Vaguely.
Yeah. The arms are up, like, oh my God, oh no, I'm a ghost. Just some.
Let's talk about X5 briefly while we're here, while we're in the scene that X5 is in. I do like that we came back to him. We had to spend more time with him. I appreciate that he does defect. He does betray his general/mom and the TVA to team up with this rebellious Renslayer. But he does look sad about it. He's like, I made my choice. I did what I wanted to do, but I don't regret it, but I am deeply sad and troubled. Like, and that scene when they get all smushed in the cubed, when they get cubed to death, I love that we just hang on that actor's face for so long.
Yeah. And just that was the scene. I was like, you don't see it, but you hear it. You hear them, like, the squelching and the dripping from all of the blood and guts and stuff that is just like 2 feet away, right there.
I know. It's
Yeah, it's
nasty
gross.
stuff. And
It's
then I
just
like when they're, do they Victor Timely tied up? I forget who he is tied up. Renslayer's like, we've got our methods. We have ways of making you talk. And the next five leans over and he says,
box.
he doesn't even say it with any sort of snark or menace or smart alegory. He sounds sad. He's like, it's a small box. He's like, I don't like that we have to use small box, but we have small box. Please don't make us use small box. I've seen the horrors that small box can wreak.
But it's his face as he's watching it happen, as he almost had it happen to him previously, knowing that he betrayed all of his friends, with that final question being asked to him of like, is this worth it? Like, right? And then to him to go and prune that one dude, to then have the like the hot liquid now spilling on the floor, and him being reminded yet again of all the hot liquid that he just saw spill out on the floor, right?
Such a textural episode 4.
Right. Softly in the background of my mind, you hear, always something there to remind me. But yeah, he's having a rough time. I feel like he's gonna come around last second. Like that was almost that was one of my thoughts that went through my head as we focus on his face as the rest of his team is being squished. Is like, what if they knew they were going to be squished? Well, no matter what. How can we trick Renslayer or Miss Minutes into believing us that we are on their side? Well, they're not going to believe us if they're all just like, oh, yep, sign me up. I'm in the army now. That might seem a little fake here. And they might. So, but if they all sacrifice themselves, except for one of them, who then has to carry out what could potentially be a suicide mission anyways, we don't know if he can make their sacrifice worth it or not. That's a lot of pressure on him. And my thought was just like, well, now he's close to Renslayer. Like, now he almost has her trust of like, I'm the only one in my group here, which means you can trust me, because genuinely I had to get away from everyone else who was like, no, don't do this. So my like scheming mind here is like, what if this is on purpose?
Maybe this is his greatest role, his most fine acting.
Exactly. Thank you. Exactly. A true actor, a thespian, if you will. Yeah.
He's gonna hold a skull, do the whole thing.
Indeed. Yeah, he's good. I hope we get some more of him down the road.
I would say also, I love the return to the orange small box room. That's such a sinister set. I've never seen the color orange be used so menacingly. I love the low ceiling. Whatever that weird big vacuum machine is with just the long hose snaking around the room. There's something about that feels so disconcerting, and it's not even doing anything.
It's sucking out all the blood and guts from underneath. It
will
vent. But yeah, Renslayer and Miss Minutes. What are your thoughts on them in these two episodes here?
I liked seeing Miss Minutes go full Weebo. Do you remember Weebo, the little robot from the Flubber movie that Robin Williams made? And she was always in love with Robin Williams, and she wanted to take human form and marry him. And she's like, I don't like your human wife.
Recently.
Flubber is worth rewatching for Weebo. She breaks my heart. She's a tremendous character. I'm not kidding.
We have a Flubber apologist here on the show.
I find that element of the motion picture Flubber very touching.
Okay. There you go.
So it's a neat turn to see Miss Minutes do that. It's so creepy when she just like projects her face over a mannequin. I love when they reboot her and she turns into ASCII. She's just made out of like dashes. That's very fun. She's becoming such a villain. Oh, she's just like full of glee, watching everybody get crushed by Smallbox. She's a true sicko.
She is. She's just so happy. Like, yes, this is amazing. This is awesome. Yeah,
it is. Right. She's like, that can't happen to me. This is the one benefit of me not having a body, is that nobody can put me in Smallbox. I'm immune to Smallbox.
Ooh, yeah, that might be her fate, because she is wanting a body. Does she get put in one next week?
I would like to see her have a body. I'd love to see an on-screen Tara Strong. That'd be nice.
Yeah. I know there's been some theories kind of going around of like, is Renslayer a Kang variant here? What's her secret? And I don't think she is a Kang variant. I'm wondering if she is it's another kind of chicken and the egg situation between her and Miss Minutes, of they are kind of the same person, or it was like a younger version of Renslayer's like original persona that was put into Miss Minutes, and that was the thing that was allowed to grow up into the Miss Minutes we have now, and that's why the accent is different. They're from different worlds, different locations, right? It's the kind of like they both have this loving crush on Victor Timely, on Kang, and when we do see this one version of Renslayer get pruned, her body kind of warps into this like hourglass shape, which is a way to keep time. It is an early form of a clock. Red and blue make purple. So you understand
an hourglass is a convenient way for you to store your sand.
Yes, sand storage will never be the same. Anakin needed one of these.
Take it away. I don't want it to touch me.
But like, that is the kind of like hint or Easter egg that I could see it being like, oh, there is a connection between these two characters. Maybe her, like a version of her, was put into this artificial intelligence, and that is why. Because then even thinking back to the finale of last season, when Kang explains the multiverse and himself and all of that stuff, the Kang that he says discovers the multiverse was from the 31st century, so is from like way in the future. But of course, when you're dealing with timey-wimey stuff, it's all kind of happening at the same time, which is why we see Renslayer in episode 3 here, when she's first explaining to Victor Timely kind of what the whole deal is. And hey, there's a multiverse. There's multiple versions of you. When she's first trying to explain it, she's kind of unsure of like, do I say this in the past tense, the present, the future tense? Like,
it was a nice
touch.
I
don't know exactly how to say that, which could account for why Miss Minutes thinks she was around first, of like, maybe she was created in the 31st century, and then they went backwards in time to do this, and then it just so happens that she didn't know that she was based off of a real person or something like that. Who knows? But yeah, I liked the competition for the little bit that it lasted. I didn't necessarily need it to go on forever, but I liked how they just kind of dropped her off in that boat and was just like, sayonara. Yep. And she was like, she said partnership. You fucking hate partnerships, right?
Except for me, your clock wife.
Right.
I take no human woman. I take only clock.
Yeah. But like, that's the thing, is she's at least smart enough to not say the word partnership, but then later on, we obviously hear say like, we can lead together. And that's when he's just like, nope, get out of here. But then the weird thing to get off of them for a sec, the weird thing then is that when Timely meets OB, they kind of shake hands and make this like partnership here of like the things we can make together. And I just thought that as an odd, like, okay, that's weird. Interesting. But who knows where that.
Yeah, there's more
goes.
to learn about OB for sure. What did you think about the return to where we were at the end of episode 1, where you find that Loki has pruned himself and OB was on the phone the whole time? That's
great reveals. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works exactly, but I liked it.
It's narratively been a little odd to me that after he went through that, we didn't see him think about it again. Right. It was not a question on his mind. Who pruned me? He just sort of who was on the phone, who was phone. What did all that mean? Like, it's, I don't know, when we've been wondering about it, but 0 people within the actual show have been wondering about it. I don't know. It just felt a little off balance to me, but that is an exciting sequence. I like the panic mode that the TVA is in. I like just the noise of the phone and the elevator door and all the alarm bells and everything. Yeah, it's a well done sequence. I am wondering if we might return back there a third time. Because for that, for them to set up that mystery and then come back to it 3 episodes later with, I think you could have easily imagined another Loki prunes Loki. And as for who was phone, the answer is OB. And it's not a really plot relevant answer. It's not a twist or anything. It's just sort of fun.
Yeah. I have to be honest. I kind of forgot about that he gets pruned at the end of episode 1 there. And in my mind, when we see him get pruned in this one, I was like, wait, did he time slip at the end there? Is that what happened in the first episode? Because I remember this scene, but I don't remember if he actually got pruned or if that was one of the instances of him time slipping. Then I thought, like, is every instance of him time slipping an instance where down the road he will have to come back and prune himself out of? And like that's kind of what's happening. It like in the same way that like OB didn't remember that he met things until he remembered that he like met these certain people or made these certain things, right? Like until it comes up narratively, they don't remember it in the weird way. Like I'm wondering if it's like a visual representation of that, of them time slipping is just like it's actually them being pruned in some weird time loop circle thing happening here. I don't know if that's the case. I know there's more instances of Loki time slipping in later episodes, but he also hasn't time slipped recently. It really only happened in like that first episode.
I am curious why we return to that. What the thing about the scenery, he prunes himself. Just ultimately the goal of the whole series, him and Sylvie getting together. That's you effectively pruning yourself. Eyebrow waggle across alternate dimensions. I
mean, those weapons apparently do have to be serviced like twice a day. Gotta service your rod at least once a day.
Right? Do you have any magazines I look at while I service my rod? I just wonder if maybe the spaghettification of Victor Timely, incredible, so gruesome that scream. The fact that this is like, and then like the timeline explodes, and that's one of the last things anybody sees is just this man get blown to noodles. But I am wondering if Loki will at some point go back and try to stop that from happening, and he will need to go back in time, and we will see that scene with him in front of the elevators maybe a third time from yet another perspective.
I wouldn't put it past them. I am loving the time travel, timey-wimey, don't understand how it all works just yet, until that last moment where it's just like, oh, everything fits now. I get it, I think, but I get it. The YouTube ending explained, right? Yeah, I don't know where they're gonna go next. I know we get a thing of Loki outside of a jet ski store, but that's kind of about it. I don't know how he gets there is the thing, because it looks like the universe exploded, or the timeline exploded. I don't know.
What do we have now?
What that means, if like, did it actually obliterate things somehow, some way, or is that like, is it just like a cloud of radiation that like sends them somewhere in the time stream because they did that? Is the spaghettification actually planting all of these variants out there in the time stream in that way? Like, each noodle is a new time loop stream thing. I don't know. He did like that one did like turn to dust that when we saw it there. So I don't know. I don't know what's happening at all. It just kind of ended, and it was just like, oh, find out next time on Loki season 2, episodes 5.
It is a great spot to end. Just right. he exploded. You have no hope.
Yeah,
everything's blown to bits.
Let me ask you this, though. This is more not speculative, but like, if season 1 was extended, I think they had a great cliffhanger with Loki, like getting back to the TVA and realizing like there's this big statue of Kang there. That was a great place to end it. But I also feel like this would have been a great finale for season 1 here if they just extended it by a few more episodes. Because I know 6 episodes is fairly short. That's kind of been my most common complaint with this show. They're packing a lot into those things. I just kind of want more room to sit and breathe with these things. And I think by now I feel comfortable in the show. And then it hits me like, we're almost done with season 2? Good Lord. Like, so yeah, if this had been the finale of season 1, do you think that would have been a good spot to wrap up season 1? Or are you just like, no, I'm good with the way things were?
I think the season 1 finale is very effective. This could have been effective also. I don't know. I won't know until we've had all the Loki we can have, and then I can see if I can section it off into new different seasons.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought this, like, it has like a season finale feel to it, but then I know there's still 2 more episodes left after this. Like, there was just so much happening. It felt like it had so much meaning behind what they were doing, and then spaghetti splat right at the end, and then just
spaghetti.
Black. Yeah. And yeah, I was like, huh, like that would, like, my mind would have been racing. I mean, it still is, but if this was the like season 1 finale, immediately just been like, guys, we need to talk about this. What's happening? What can happen next? Like, what went wrong? How do they come back? Did they all die? What happened? Right? That like it. That feels like end of season conversations. So, I don't know. Just a thought.
Right? Yeah. We're gonna have to look back in 2 weeks, back on the structure, and see where we are.
Yeah. End of Act 2. In our 3-act structure here. So yeah, cool. I don't know if I have much else to say. Do you feel like we covered most of it?
I think so.
Good stuff. Cool. Well, then I guess we will wrap up. Oh, you have something?
One final thing. Just when Renslayer goes to the Citadel at the end of the universe, and she looks down at the tiny, tiny versions of her and He Who Remains. That's so eerie. That's so wonderfully strange. Just like tiny them walking around a desk.
Good detail. Yeah, it was fun. Cool. Well, we will wrap things up right there for our reactions to Loki season 2, episodes 3 and 4. This one was a blast. We hope you enjoyed it as well. We will see you all in 2 weeks' time when season 1 or when season 2 has wrapped up here. So we will see you all then. But until next time, Melissa, where can the people find you on the interwebs?
I have a new letterboxd at WilkyWit, WILKYWIT.
There you go. And you guys can find me at Yo Kyle Springer on most of the social media places. If you want to stay up to date with all of the stuff that we do here at the Whatnauts, we are at the Whatnauts on most social medias. And yeah, please go like, share, and subscribe. You guys know the deal with all of that. If you're watching this on YouTube, go check out one of our other videos right over there. That would help us out a ton. But yeah, this has been number 131 of the Whatnauts Reactor Core. We will see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.